But first, going to war, not going to woke. That's the focus of tonight's angle.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time. I wouldn't give a hoot in hell for a man who lost and laughed. That's why Americans have never lost and will never lose a war, because the very thought of losing is hateful to Americans.
It's time to win again. The president announcing a proposed name change after 76 years at the Department of Defense. The Pentagon gets new branding and a new focus. Woke is being replaced by war, as in the Department of War.
This is something we thought long and hard about. So we won the First World War, we won the Second World War, we won everything before that and in between, and then we decided to go woke and we changed the name to Department of Defense. So we're going Department of War. I think it's a much more appropriate name.
The new Secretary of War, if Congress approves of the name change, explained the rationale.
In 1789, George Washington established the War Department, and Henry Knox was his first Secretary of War. And this country won every major war after that, to include World War I and World War II. We haven't won a major war since, and that's not to disparage our warfighters, whether it's the Korean War, or the Vietnam War, or our generation of Iraq and Afghanistan. That's to recognize that this name change is not just about renaming, it's about restoring. Words matter.
The critics were quick to jump in, of course, and declare that the name change is yet another sign that Trump's a bully who just doesn't understand deterrence. All he is belligerent. Well, of course, deterrence kept us safe. That's true during the Cold War, etc. New York Times columnist David Sanger hammered the rebrand and the message it sends, claiming it's a restoration of tough guy nomenclature at a moment when deterrence is more critical than ever. Further, he argues that this plays right into the hands of our adversaries, Russia and China. He claims who, in their telling, all of America's talk about being a peace-loving, law-abiding international player is just thin cover for a country that truly just wants to strike at any target it regards as a threat. Well, I understand the argument, I really do, but it's wrong. First, no one honestly believes that Trump doesn't like to negotiate and use soft power to avoid war. That's ridiculous. That's what we've seen him do to intervene diplomatically and help settle military conflicts already in the first 7 months or so around the world. And it's why he's still trying so hard with Putin and Zelensky. And of course, Rubio will still do his diplomacy, one of his many jobs that he's very good at. And our ambassadors, they will continue to represent our interests around the world. Now, after Trump left office, remember in 2021, he, like many of us, were shocked to see what had become of the U.S. military culture under Trump's successor. Was China really afraid of our military when Obama, then Biden, made the military experience seem more like a DEI workshop than a lethal fighting force?
We're frequently asked, what do climate change, sustainability, and clean energy have to do with the military's mission? Well, the short answer is a lot.
Throughout American history, LGBTQ plus citizens have fought to defend our rights and freedoms. From the founding of our nation to the Civil War, they fought for our country even when our country wouldn't fight for them.
Now it's red, white, and blue, no rainbows. Thanks to President Trump, the pride celebrations, the climate change workshops are gone. And the U.S. military, our fighting men and women, will now have one overriding mission: to be prepared to kill the enemy.
It's restoring, as you've guided us to, Mr. President, restoring the warrior ethos, restoring victory and clarity as an end state. Fight to win, not to lose. We're going to go on offense, not just on defense. Maximum lethality, not tepid legality. Violent effect, not politically correct. We're going to raise up warriors, not just defenders. So this War Department, Mr. President, just like America, is back.
Somewhere along the line, the Pentagon just lost its way. The U.S. military should be a synonym for excellence in warfighting. It should stand for victory. It should symbolize triumph. Instead, for too many years, it symbolized drift and weakness and, yes, defeat. Now, none of this is the fault of our soldiers. It is the fault of the politically correct generals and admirals who ran the Pentagon. That must change, and the president believes that part of that change requires a change in attitude. The Pentagon exists to win wars. That's not something to be ashamed of. If the president's relabeling leads to a stronger and better military, all Americans will have reason to thank him. And that's the angle.
Donald Trump brought a broom to D.C. He remodeled the Oval with gold trim, turned the Rose Garden into Mar-a-Lago, made the grass in the Capitol green again, and now it's called the Department of War.
We won the First World War. We won the Second World War. We won everything before that and in between, and then we decided to go woke and we changed the name to Department of Defense. So we're going Department of War.
We beat the British, French, Mexicans, Germans twice, and the Japanese. Then we changed the name to Defense and fought to ties like soccer for the next 75 years. In the Cold War, we played D. Now, we have to bring back what worked. We're going back on offense.
This name change is not just about renaming, it's about restoring. Words matter. It's restoring, as you've guided us to, Mr. President, restoring the warrior ethos, restoring victory and clarity as an end state, restoring intentionality to the use of force. The War Department is going to fight decisively, not endless conflicts. This War Department, Mr. President, just like America, is back.
It couldn't come at a better time. The Chinese military parade was a wake-up call. 60-foot submarine drones, hypersonic missiles, robot jets that can intercept airstrikes. Putin, Kim, and Modi even got a look at China's 600 nuclear warheads. Modi used to be our boy, but Trump said he went to the dark side. Whose fault was that? The soggy Rose Garden.
I've been very disappointed that India would be buying so much oil, as you know, from Russia. I get along very well with Modi, as you know. He's great. He was here a couple of months ago. In fact, we went to the Rose Garden, and the grass was so soaking wet. It was such a terrible place to have a news conference. I said, well, let's use a beautiful white stone emblematic of the White House.
Trump built a White House patio just for India. Modi had soggy loafers and bolted for Beijing. Can't have that happening. No one's taking us seriously with sinkholes at the White House and drag queens in camo. Next dignitary that steps foot at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Trump has a surprise. An American flag bigger than the Empire State Building. Yeah. Trump wants the flag to be 776 feet wide and 1,492 feet long in recognition of America's birthday. But before they see our flag, they'll hear our war secretary.
Much better than that. Way better. Yeah, right. So
the military has been testing out the hardware just to make sure it's not rusty. Remember China put on a nice military parade? But they're not battle tested. The Chinese haven't fought a war since 1979. They're wet behind the ears. And American technology is 2 decades ahead. The Department of War sends a message.
I think it sends a message of victory. I think it sends really a message of strength. We're very strong. We're much stronger than anyone would really understand.
The name also reminds the country what the mission is. It's not DEI or nation building or padding invoices with $70,000 toilets in Iraq. It's about war, not fighting war, winning war. It's a vibe shift.
Reestablishing deterrence so that when the enemy sees an American, they don't want to with us because they know they'll get the business end of the best warrior on the planet. We're reestablishing that, whether it's Midnight Hammer or freedom of navigation or narco traffickers that are poisoning the American people.
Whether it's blowing up the Houthis, the Iranian nuke mountain, or the cocaine speedboats on the high seas, America's enemies see there's a price to pay.
When I see boats coming in, like loaded up the other day with all sorts of drugs, probably fentanyl mostly, but all sorts of drugs, and we're going to take them out. And if people want to have fun going on the high seas or the low seas, they're going to be in trouble. I think anybody that saw that is going to say, I'll take a pass. I don't even know about fishermen. They may say, I'm not getting on the boat. I'm not going to take a chance.
Maduro in Venezuela tried to counter by buzzing a naval vessel. So the War Department scrambled 10 F-35 fighter jets to Puerto Rico. And I guarantee the rest of Maduro's Air Force stays grounded. We don't fly F-35s casually. They're the same fighter jets we use for Operation Midnight Hammer, and they cost $100 million apiece. This isn't a drill. We have 8 U.S. Navy destroyers and 10 F-35s in the Caribbean. We haven't flexed that hard in the neighborhood since the Cuban Missile Crisis. But panicans are worried. They're worried about what the cartels, not what they're going to do to us. They're worried about what we might do to the cartels. They're nervous about manifest destiny.
What he's reaching for, Chris, is an idea of the country that was at the heart of the Spanish-American War. The idea of the country that led to Guam and Puerto Rico being territories. The idea of the country that intervention in Cuba, that had us intervene in Haiti. We can go down the line. American imperialism and empire of right. So you describe the country, you describe the Department of Defense as a Department of War because you're describing your intention, your wish.
We're not colonizing Latin America. It's not strategic. Taking Greenland, that's strategic. I mean, we're protecting Greenland. We've been stuck in endless wars against Muslims and let the Chinese and narco-terrorists sneak up and pump our cities full of poison. And now it's time to make them react to us. And we couldn't do it without the men and women in uniform who are answering the call and enlisting like we are at war. And for the first time in a long time, the country has your back.
I'm here with a message from the President of the United States, which I always deliver to troops when I'm traveling. He has your back. As a commander-in-chief, he will ensure that you have everything you need to win, everything you need to be successful. We're going to make sure that your hands aren't tied behind your back as you bring violence on the enemy.
And welcome to this special edition of Hannity, the Unhinged Left. The Democrats, they put politics over the public yet again. All week long, we saw example after example of this. Democrats are on the wrong side of every major single issue the country is facing right now. Now, despite President Trump's successful crackdown on crime in D.C., it's paying massive dividends. The left, they are resisting any and all efforts from President Trump to control crime in other cities like Chicago, like New York. For example, Labor Day weekend, Chicago, 58 people shot, 8 were killed. But still, the state's liberal leaders, they are refusing any and all opportunities to work with the president to make their city safer. Instead, they spent the last week in full-blown meltdown mode, screaming about Donald Trump and his efforts to crack down on Chicago's crime, something they have failed miserably at. That's keeping people safe and secure. Now, take a look at their worst moments of the week. Take a look.
If National Guard or other military troops are deployed to the city of Chicago, immediately go to court.
Chicago will continue to have a violence problem as long as red states continue to have a gun problem.
Do you think it would make a difference to have some help from the National Guard in Chicago?
Well, it certainly could, but the starting point is this. Local officials, like a governor and a mayor, can work with federal officials to be more effective in reducing crime. That's a given. I accept that. But in the situation in Chicago, this is not a negotiation any way whatsoever.
So it's clear that in secret, they're planning this. Well, it's an invasion with U.S. troops if they, in fact, do that.
Are you prepared to defend this land that was built by slaves, a land that was built by indigenous people?
By the way, for the record, most Illinois guns come from Illinois. Now, Governor Pritzker, Mayor Johnson, people are dying in your city. People are being shot every weekend in your city. You have failed the people that you say you care about. This week has fully exposed Democrats as the pro-crime party of America, the party of defund, dismantle, no bail, reimagine the police. Let's replace them with social workers. You know, they care more about criminals than the safety and security of innocent, law-abiding Americans. And sadly, this is only the tip of the iceberg. Earlier this week, the U.S. military conducted a successful strike on a boat full of narco-terrorists. But because the Trump administration carried out the strike, by the way, protecting Americans again, the left has now come out in favor of protecting narco-terrorists, bringing in drugs that are killing Americans every single day. They're also the pro-illegal immigration party. They want millions of unvetted Biden, Harris, Mayorkas illegals to stay in the country. The party that puts the so-called rights of illegals over the safety of law-abiding citizens, even the criminal illegals who have committed countless heinous crimes, murder, rape, other violent crimes. The left doubling down on this insane ideological stance. And it gets worse. During a hearing on Capitol Hill yesterday, Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr., Democratic senators, a complete psycho meltdown mode. Oh, even though he said over and over again, vaccines will be available. I just want to inform the public. Our mortality rate for infants is going way down. Our life expectancy is down. Americans are not nearly as healthy as people in other countries, but they melted down anyway. Take a look.
You're telling the American people that the American Medical Association, representing hundreds of thousands of people, have been co-opted and that they should not trust their doctors. And the American Academy of Pediatrics, and by the way, just for the record, every single Republican, I don't mean to be political here, Mr. Chairman, has received PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. Are they all corrupt as well?
And I'm telling you, the American Heart Association has been co-opted by the food
Everybody
industry.
but you, Senator. Everybody is corrupt but you? Is that what we're looking at? I don't think so. And I think the issue now...
I don't even know what you're talking about. Most Americans will be able to get it from their pharmacy for free.
The question is everyone who wants it. That was your promise,
No, I didn't. I never promised that I was going to recommend products with which there is no indication.
When you said...
And I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
I hope that you will tell the American people how many preventable child deaths are an acceptable sacrifice for enacting an agenda that I think is fundamentally cruel and defies common sense. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do I got a reply? Or, Senator, you've sat in that chair for how long? 20, 25 years, while the chronic disease in our children went up to 76%. And you said nothing. You never asked the question why it's happening. Why is this happening?
Why is it happening? Are you not allowed to ask the question? The Trump administration, they are working tirelessly. This is the MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again. Yesterday, Democrats revealed themselves to be the party of chronic illness, obesity problems. Look at the diabetes, heart disease plaguing our country. The left applauding bad economic data. They're happy that the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, too late, Powell is dragging his feet to cut rates, interest rates. That is killing the sale of pre-existing homes and new home construction. All because what? It hurts Donald Trump, therefore they support Jerome Powell. But the left's most vile, despicable display of the week was their reaction to the fake rumors that Donald Trump had suffered some sort of health crisis last week, all because he didn't have any public events for a couple of days. Take a look at that disgusting display.
This weekend, the biggest story was frenzied social media rumors speculating whether Donald Trump had died. For the record, Donald Trump is very much alive, okay? And no, we like our presidents alive.
We may never know why Donald Trump suddenly spent a week hiding entirely from the American public. But you don't actually need baseless online conspiracies to explain why he might not want to show his face in public right now.
Donald Trump will never die. Forget it. He's like Dracula. He's going to keep sucking the life out of us forever.
The last few days you woke up thinking there might be news. Just saying. Just saying. There will be news sometime. Just so you know, there will be news.
Oh, there'll be plenty of news sometime. Anyway, the left has become completely unhinged. If it wasn't so serious, it's comical. They're wrong on every major issue of our time. Pro-crime, pro-illegal immigration, supporting the rights of men to play women's sports and share locker rooms, playing fields with women. Now they're pro-narco-terrorists. Don't kill the terrorists. That would be bad. You know, the people that are bringing drugs, killing Americans into our country, you know, pro-chronic illness? Really? We can't re-examine our healthcare system and see if maybe we can live a little bit longer and a little healthier, hoping and praying for bad economic data simply because they're blinded by rage and hatred for all things Donald Trump, doubling, tripling down on dumb, dumber, and stupid and crazy. But their resistance is not slowing down President Trump from doing what is right for you. Earlier today, the president announced he is renaming the Department of Defense to its original name, the Department of War. Meanwhile, Homeland Security investigations announced the largest single-site operation they have carried out, arresting 475 illegals during a raid at a Hyundai electric car battery factory in Georgia, and the administration's crackdown on illegal immigration, insane sanctuary city policies is only ramping up. Yesterday, the DOJ announcing a lawsuit against Boston Mayor Michelle Wu over that city's sanctuary city policy and status. And meanwhile, the Trump administration's effort to reduce crime in D.C. is paying massive dividends. As director of the FBI, Kash Patel, announced more than 1,800 arrests have been made. And also breaking tonight, the D.C. police, DOJ, announcing the arrest of 2 suspects charged with the murder of a Capitol Hill intern earlier this summer. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.